This is a podcast from Partnerships for Wellbeing.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Ways to Wellbeing. I'm Jeff Zycinski, and normally I'm presenting from our studios at Partnerships for Wellbeing, but today I'm out on the banks of the River Ness because we've been intrigued by the stories coming from down south about how the NHS there is prescribing angling, fishing, as a way of alleviating anxiety and depression. So who better to ask about that than one of our own volunteer drivers, David McDiarmid, who I caught up with just as he's changed into his fishing garb and had that look of a seasoned fisherman. But apparently that's not the case. Well, David, tell us where we are, first of all.
We are down on the River Ness, Jeff, at a place called the Little Isle Pool, which is a popular spot and a gathering spot for salmon and trout fishers on the river.
Well, you certainly look like you're dressed for the part. You look like you've been doing this for years, but I take it that's not the case.
No, it's not. I actually only took up fly fishing last year, and it was as a result of a lockdown challenge where I was last year teaching myself and getting some help on the art of fly casting. And then from there I visited a couple of the local trout fisheries and practiced on them and was successful in catching a few fish over the last year.
Well, the reason I wanted to talk to you today is because I've been reading about the benefits of angling, and in parts of England the NHS is actually prescribing this kind of fishing as a kind of help with well-being, help with anxiety. Can you see how that might be true?
Quite definitely. My wife very kindly bought me a permit for the river for my Christmas this year, so that allows me to incorporate the different types of fishing I've been doing, fishing with spinning rods and fly rods. And when I came down to the club, I was made extremely welcome. It was very friendly, and when I got onto water, it is a very peaceful process. I know that people think it's man against the elements or man and woman against the elements and try to catch as many fish, but the secret is just about relaxing and enjoying it. And as you can see, Jeff, we've got beautiful surroundings, and you know, we see the river here today. It's very busy, people doing the same thing, just enjoying the views, enjoying the peacefulness of the river.
You've retired in recent years. You were in the fire service before that.
That's correct, yep. I spent 30 years in the fire service, and I retired 4 years ago and took up work with initially volunteering and then some paid work with a local charity.
So you're one of our drivers with Partnerships for Wellbeing.
That's correct, yep. I started volunteering with yourselves at the end of December. My father-in-law, who has got dementia, attends the Mackenzie Centre, and my wife just happened to be speaking to Fiona and said that I had some time that I would be able to give if it would be helpful. So from then I've done that. I thoroughly enjoy the role, and I meet so many people, and so many people that I have worked with previously or through friends. So it's not just about transporting people about, it's actually having some great conversations and meeting some lovely people.
So let's get back to the fishing, because it must be a very different lifestyle you have now from when you were working full-time.
It is, yep. I was fortunate, even when I was working, to have some hobbies. I've always ran throughout my life and cycled and played golf. But if I'm honest, this last year the fishing seems to have come to the fore, and that sort of demonstrates just how much I enjoy it. I'm actually looking at my calendar to find time that I can go and fish, just get away, come down to the river or go to one of the local stock logs and just spend some time with nature, and maybe a wee bit selfishly just on my own with myself, enjoying the environment and the countryside.
Now, on the way down here I used the word mindfulness, and you kind of a wee bit resistant to that kind of buzzword.
Not so much. I'm aware that mindfulness is very thing and about breathing and that, and I think it is a huge thing for different things. Perhaps, unfortunately, the way I look at it, for me it's just maybe being at peace and enjoying the outdoors. But you know, although my mind is on the fishing, catching fish isn't the be-all and end-all. It's actually being out in the water, speaking with people. As you're fortunate enough to see when we arrived, Jeff, there was a number of people at the fishing hut, and they collect here daily. It's a very, very friendly place, and sometimes you'll come down and you'll spend half an hour talking before you even get into the water. But there's not that itch to get fishing and, you know, dismiss people. It's that whole package.
My name's Geraldine Connah. Like a lot of people, I had a bit of illness in my life. I was diagnosed with breast cancer quite a few years ago now, over 5 years ago now. I've just finished my treatment and all my drugs and things. But halfway through it, I was having a very bad time. And I went to a question and answer session with people with all different types of cancers. And we had this wonderful nurse that came over from Rigmore to answer the question. And the nurse said, "You are asking me for certainty. And what I can say is that no one in this room has certainty anymore. And your life is precious. And if there is anything you've wanted to do in your life, or you feel you've missed, or would give you pleasure, why don't you get off your backsides, go out and do it? And you will get pleasure. And it might make you feel better. And it might give you a more positive view of the rest of your life." And I thought that was a wonderful thing that she did. So I'd been walking up and down the River Ness for 10 years, watching the fishermen, thinking, wow, that looks interesting. I wonder how you do it. And I thought, well, all the dads teach the wee boys. And I've never had the chance. I've learned to cast to some extent. A lot of fishermen have been fishing for 30, 40, 50 years. I've only been fishing for 4. But it gives great pleasure, and it gives peace and quiet and solitude.
I've just changed all my life and got a different walk. So I'm still trying to find mindfulness on this side.
So we won't call it mindfulness, but you definitely think it has an impact on your health and well-being.
Definitely. I'm out in the fresh air. As you can see, the sun, I mean, that's probably added to my suntan this year, that I've spent quite a bit of time in the river. And with the light breeze that you get, you often don't realise that till you get home and get under the shower. So, yep, it's just nice to be able to drive somewhere. And even the driving in the way there, it's relaxed because you're in no hurry to get there. You know, you've got a day's or half a day's to spend fishing. And in the way back, hopefully, if you've been fortunate, you can reflect on the fish that you've caught and the great day that you've had.
I'm a talker. I love people. I'm social. However, there are times in your life when you really just need to be on your own and understand what the hell's going on with your body and your brain. And it gave me that space. So I could go and stand in that river. And nobody was close enough to know I was crying my heart out, or that I was distressed, or I was angry, or I didn't feel life was fair, because it's not always fair. And it gave me time to realise that actually, look at this beautiful place, and look at the birds, look at the animals. Think about how kind people have been to you. Just think how lucky you are to be as healthy as you are. You might not have been here. So you should build on the good things in life. I know we all get nasty things, but sometimes you can make them better, and people are out there to help you.
If someone was interested in taking this up,
yep,
how would they go about it?
They're in through the local websites and through the papers. There's access to the websites for a number of the trout fisheries that surround Inverness, but even a bit further afield you can get them through in Forres and towards Aberdeen. But the Inverness Angling Club, they've got their own website, and I actually spoke when we talked about doing this, spoke with our president Bill, and he was really keen on welcoming people down and introducing them to fishing. I spent the whole of June learning how to salmon cast here in the river, and very much It was a really friendly experience, a warm experience. So the club would welcome young members are free up to the age of 16, and other members can get on, and you're made to feel very welcome. So through the local websites, and even if people wanted to contact me through Partnerships for Wellbeing, I could signpost them to different sites and different clubs and some of the lochs.
And we should also make a call out to local GPs as well, because although it's not officially something that's prescribed by the NHS here in Scotland, I don't think so, GPs are looking for something to suggest to patients. They could also head your way too.
Quite definitely. And I think working with the NHS and Partnerships for Wellbeing, we're ideally situated to share that information and let other people know what is out there. And the benefit of a podcast like this, that's far-reached, and it's going to reach many people. So hopefully that message will get out there.
Well, David, maybe we should just, at this moment, make you the person in charge of our angling division.
Well, perhaps if you've got one.
This is how we bounce people into projects.
Right. Well, I would love to do that. And we can see how busy we are and see how many people take us up. But I would be quite happy to take some people out fishing.
Now I'm going to go and try and speak to some of your pals up at the hut there. But as you say, they're a very sociable bunch.
Indeed they are, and there are a lot of great stories, a lot of friendly atmosphere, and really for me that's what I've enjoyed so much about the club, and the advice. People are very keen, without being too forward, to provide some advice and keep you right and give you some tips. So it's been a huge learning curve for me this year, but such an enjoyable one.
Before we go, David, I have to ask you this. I mean, is there actually any pictorial evidence you ever caught a fish?
There is, Jeff, and funnily enough, I can provide you that. I was fortunate enough, and maybe it was the fact that I knew I was coming to do this today. I was out fishing the river last night and was very fortunate to catch a 7-pound salmon, slightly further up the river.
And you're promising me that's not photoshopped?
No, that's not photoshopped. You can do all the digital discoveries that you want. It's a real photo of me.
Ways to Wellbeing is produced in Inverness, Scotland by Partnerships for Wellbeing, a registered charity. To find out more about our services, go to p4w.org.uk.